Well, hello there, and welcome to my channel, In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne, and because it is almost June, therefore it is time to talk about what I'm going to read in June. I actually, until I sat down and realized, okay, I need to film this video now because I have the time to film it. Until I realized that, I had not given hardly any thought whatsoever to what I am reading in June. I had not even taken the time to remind myself of what the June prompts were in my various challenges, which I usually do like at the midpoint through the month. I start thinking about the next month, but I just haven't yet. So I spent the last half hour or so thinking through everything and figuring out my plan for the month of June. To begin with, the primary readathon with which I'm going to be participating and is going to be sort of underpinning everything else that I read this month is Joy Read June, hosted by Spread Book Joy and some others, which I will link to in the description box below, in honor of Alison the Giant Bookshelf, who passed away sadly last year. I was not familiar with her. I did not know her personally, but I think this is such a beautiful way to honor her memory. This was a readathon that she had planned last year, but was not able to participate in. So I also love the idea of reading for joy in the month of June, whatever sparks joy, to quote Marie Kondo. So that is underpinning all of my book choices, and it will be influencing all of the books that I actually pick up and read. There are a couple of books that I have already committed to for the month of June, and those, however, are books that I do want to read and that do spark joy for me at the thought of reading them. So I am happy to add those to a definite list, but everything else on here is subject to change depending on whether or not in the moment it's something that I actually feel joyful about reading. And you know what? May was DNF City to a certain extent. Like I picked up, I don't know, it was 2 or 3 books in a row, and I was like, nope. Not reading anything that is not interesting me in the moment. So that is how the reading is going to go in June, and I am very excited about that because it is going to be summer for me. School lets out the first Wednesday in June, and so I'm going to have theoretically freer days and an easier schedule. We say theoretically because, yeah. So I am really looking forward to relaxing with some really joyful reading in the month of June. However, there is a lot going on in June in the booktube world, and it does bring me a great deal of joy to participate in these events. And so I am going to be jumping in with both feet and joining in with them. First, let me talk about the prompts for June for the year-long challenges that I am doing and what I will likely be reading for each of those. To begin with, let's start with my own challenge, the Reading the Classics Challenge. For June, the prompt is to read a book that is at least 500 pages. That coincides nicely with Big Book Summer hosted by Sue Jackson, which is something else I will be participating in the month of June. And the idea for that challenge is simply that you read a book that is at least 400 pages. That's her benchmark for a big book. I bumped it up a little bit to 500 pages, give you a little extra challenge there. And there are a lot of great books. I will do a separate video at some point in the month of June with my favorite really big classics. And the books that I'm about to mention are probably also going to be on that list as well. But right now I'm just going to give you 5 quick recommendations for books that are at least 500 pages. These ones are actually significantly more than that. If you want to bite off a big chunk in the month of June, if you find yourself with a little extra time to read, it might be a good time to start reading it. And if it takes you through the whole summer, that's fine. The first one I'm going to mention is Don Quixote, and that is by Miguel de Cervantes. I'm sure most of you have at least heard of this book, even if you have never read it yet. It's definitely worth reading, especially the first book. There's 2 books or volumes, I'm not sure if they're called, or parts, whatever. I really enjoyed the first one and found it very easy reading. The second one was kind of like a novel within a novel, had sort of like a meta narrative going on, and that just twisted my brain inside out, and it was a little bit harder to read and a little bit harder to take seriously, to be perfectly honest, but I did enjoy it also, and I am very glad I read it. I will probably never reread it, but I did enjoy the read. And this was a good translation by Edith Grossman that I read. Another one that I have read a couple of times and really have enjoyed. I want to read it again because I think both of the times that I read it, like the first time I read it very casually, the second time I was reading a little bit more closely, but there's a lot I don't remember about it, so I don't think I read it that carefully. I want to read it again sometime, and that is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. I'm not telling you how many pages these are, but they're all like a lot. This one is almost 800 pages. Don Quixote is 940 pages. And then of course we've got this monster, which is one of my favorite books of all time, Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. This particular edition is over 1,200 pages, and I love this beautiful copy, by the way. So this is a great choice if you haven't read it yet. Or if you have, maybe it's time to do a reread. And then one of my other all-time favorites is Pride and Prejudice. And this annotated edition goes to 700 some pages, like 700, not quite 750. So that is well over the 500 page mark. And I am finishing up as we speak The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Again, it is over 1,200 pages, or you can read the abridged edition, which is still like, I think 700 pages probably about. I won't tell anybody. It's okay with me personally, if you read the abridged version. Anyway, it is a very large book, no matter how you slice it. And it's also very enjoyable. This is one that I would highly recommend because it's not a slog to read. I read a little bit every day, like 10 to 15 pages every day. It was the perfect pace for me, and it was all very enjoyable. It never felt like, oh man, I have to read Count of Monte Cristo. I have to finish that book. I never felt like that. It was just an enjoyable process. I would say from beginning to end, I'm not 100% at the end yet. I'm really, really close, but close enough to say that I very much enjoy this one. Highly recommend as a big book. Also, for my challenge, there are some scavenger hunt items. So one of those is a female protagonist. And so let's see. Pride and Prejudice would count for that, as would Anna Karenina. So both of those would count for that one. And then we have a foreign country, which Don Quixote, unless you are Spanish. And Pride and Prejudice, unless you are English. And Anna Karenina, unless you are Russian. And Les Miserables, unless you are French. So lots of international foreign country settings going on there. And then the third one is Greek myth. Now, the story does not have to be based on a Greek myth to count for this scavenger hunt. It's just something you need to find within the context of the story. And it could be subtle or it could be big. I find that many classic books, this is actually pretty easy because many classic books reference mythology at some point during the course of story. Or there are some aspects of the plot that closely resemble or follow the format of a Greek myth or a popular story in mythology or a popular character in mythology. So there are a lot of options. Just keep your eyes peeled and see what you come across as you are reading. And finally, the challenge part of my reading challenge is to do a buddy read. So I'm going to be doing a buddy read. That's one of my things as well. And I'll talk about that in a minute. So I encourage you to find someone to buddy read with. It can be myself. If there's anything on my list that I'm sharing with you today that you want to read with me, please let me know, and I would love to buddy read with you. Or if there is another booktuber you follow, or just someone that you know in real life, pick a friend and say, hey, would you like to read this book with me? And it is so much fun to buddy read and to get someone else's perspective. It's a little bit less serious than a book club kind of setting. It's just fun, and it's a great way to get more out of whatever book you are reading and to be able to enjoy it more than you would otherwise. I usually find that that's the case. I enjoy books more when I'm reading them with someone else than if I just read them by myself. So that's your challenge. So for myself, the book that I am going to choose for this prompt in the month of June is a little bit of a cheat because it also goes with one of my other annual challenges, and I try not to overlap those or double up on those. But given that I enjoy reading in June, I have discovered this year that It does not bring me joy to be reading more than one really long book at a time. One at a time is all I can handle. And until that one is done, then I can't start another one. And also, I don't really like to have too much of like a deadline on it because that also does not bring me a great deal of joy. So for our Jane Austen 250th birthday celebration, Charlene and I are reading Mansfield Park by Jane Austen. And my annotated copy is just shy of 800 pages, I think. Oh, more than 800. Wow. Oh, goodness gracious. Did not feel that long last time I read it. 850 pages. So definitely qualifies for a big book. And now half of that is the annotations, okay? But I'm going to read the annotations, so it still qualifies. All right, so that is going to be for 2 of my annual challenges. Goes against my own rules, but I made them. I will break them. It's okay. That will be for both of those things. And as far as being in a foreign country, England counts for me. And female protagonist, Fanny Price. Yes, Greek mythology. I'm pretty sure we're going to encounter some Greek mythology in the course of that story. So that is going to be great. And now, my other annual challenges, besides my own, and the Jane Austen 250th birthday celebration, for Chantel's Read Your Shelf challenge. Oh my goodness, Chantel, I have had such a terrible time this year with your prompts. Such a terrible time. And I don't know what it is. I just don't have books on my shelf that go with these prompts for whatever reason. I just don't even understand. It seems like I should be able to find books with these prompts. They're so simple. What in the world? I've had problems every month, almost. This month is no exception. The prompt is bird. And I looked through every book on my shelf, fiction, nonfiction, every genre, every type, looking for something about a bird in the title or something related to birds in the title or a picture of birds on the cover. I had almost nothing. There were 1 or 2 books that had like part of a bird or something on the front. And I was like, yeah, but I don't want to read that book. And remember, joy. We're reading for joy. And I didn't want to read it. So I didn't want to put it on the list to make myself read it. But it has to be a book I own because that's the whole rule of the challenge, right? Which also coincides with my other goals for myself in June, or this year. So I want to stick to that. I did come up with something and I will read it. Hopefully in June, if I feel like it. If not, it might get bumped to July and I might get behind. But I have this one and it has peacock feathers on the cover. I don't think it has anything to do with actual peacocks, but it's on the cover. So that is The Lost Book of Eleanor Dare by Kimberly Brock, which is about the lost colony of Roanoke, which fascinates me. I've read nonfiction books about that and found it incredibly interesting. I've read other fiction books about it. Those sorts of like historic mysteries really interest me. So the whole concept really interests me. I am a little bit skeptical as to whether or not I will actually enjoy this version of it, but it's got bird feathers. So this is the one that we're going to read. And it also goes nicely with another June readathon that I'm going to be hopefully participating in. More on that in a minute. And then for Jane Reads Christian Fiction readathon, the June prompt is a 1-word title, which again, I had such a terrible time finding one. I don't have any on my shelf. And I was looking on Hoopla and in my Kindle library and on Kindle Unlimited. And I did find one that I have been wanting to read for a long time, and that is Shiloh by Lori Benton. And I believe it was Katie at Paperbacks and Ponytails who recently read this book and really enjoyed it. And it kind of bumped it a little bit higher up my very long mental TBR of books that I do want to read eventually. And so I think that that is one I will really enjoy. And I was happy to put that one on my list for June. So if not, I might look up something else on Kindle Unlimited and see what I can find there and read it in the month of June if I'm not feeling Shiloh when it comes right down to it. So those are for my annual challenges that I'm doing. Now, as for other events that are occurring in June, I've already told you about Big Book Summer, which lasts throughout the summer, and I have hinted at another one that is going on, and that is the historic fiction readathon that is hosted by Shelley and Gloria, and I think a couple of other ladies. I will list all of their channels in the description box below. And historical fiction is my jam. Like, I have permanently been in a historical fiction era. This is my favorite genre. It always has been. I don't see that going to change anytime soon. I love me some historical fiction. Definitely brings me joy. Historical fiction is joyful reading for me. As to whether or not I actually fulfill all the prompts, maybe, maybe not. But I do have some books picked out that I want to read, so we'll see. I may pick up something else as the month goes on. This is all very loose. These are not commitments. These are just possibilities. So first of all, the one prompt is to read a book about a real remarkable person. And I have a book that my sister gave me, and it's made an appearance on my TBR a couple of times, but I haven't gotten to it, and I really do want to. And that is The Magnificent Lives of Marjorie Post by Alison Pataki. And perhaps after I read this, I can actually go to her house, which is in DC. What is the name of that house? Anyway, the house where she lived is in DC and is a museum and a garden, and it's gorgeous. And it's been several years since I have been there. And my husband and I, I want to, and I'm going to make my family do it with me. We're going to go on day trips this summer, once a week, the weeks that we are home. And I think that this would be a great one to revisit because I believe they were with me when we went before, and we all enjoyed it as far as I recall. I know I particularly enjoyed it. But anyways, that might be a possible road trip, or not road trip, it's right into DC, which is not far from me, but a possible day trip for us to enjoy. We'll see. Anyway, that one could fit that prompt, and I am really excited about reading that one. Then another prompt is to read a book about the arts, and I do have this one, The Lady with the Dark Hair by Erin Bartels. I don't think I've read anything by Erin Bartels, but I have wanted to. And this one is set in Toulouse, France, and then it has a modern day storyline in Michigan, and it is about an artist and a painting. The painting is entitled The Lady with the Dark Hair. I believe it's a fictional painting, but it's a historical fiction about art. So I am looking forward to reading that one. I just love this beautiful cover, and I don't know if you can see the gold foiling there. Just gorgeous cover. So I'm excited about that one. And then another prompt is an alternate historical fiction. So a historical fiction that kind of does an alternate history. And I have heard a few booktubers talking about books that have intrigued me that have alternative histories in them. And I do want to read them. There's one about World War II, and there's one, there's several that I've heard mentioned. But I have one on my shelf that's been off and on my TBR, and I just haven't read it yet. So that is going back on my TBR, and that is The Secret Diaries of Charlotte Bronte. So this imagines that there were some secret diaries of Charlotte Bronte, and, you know, telling the mysteries of her life that we don't know. And so I am really wanting to read this. It's made an appearance on my TBR. Haven't read it yet, so this will be a good month to read that one. And then we have A Dual Timeline, which The Lady with the Dark Hair would work for that also. I could double up on the prompts for that one. But I also have The Secret Keepers of Old Depot Grocery, which is one that I have been wanting to read for a long time. I want to try Amanda Cox as an author. I've heard so many fantastic things. She sounds like an author whose books I would really enjoy, and I just haven't read them yet. I have her on a list of authors to try. It's been on my list for over a year. So again, another book I've been wanting to get to for a while, just haven't yet. So Joy Reading June is a perfect opportunity to do that. And this one is The Secret Keepers of Old Depot Grocery. Did I say that? Anyway, this has a dual timeline, present day and 1965. And then finally, a book about a specific event. Now, let's see. Yeah, I don't think any of these would qualify for that, but I do have one that would. I don't know if this one would give me joy though. So I don't know if this is one I will actually pick up and read, but it fits the prompt. I don't have a ton of books on my shelf that fit the prompt. I do have some other possibilities, but enough rambling. A Fall of Marigolds. This one I had tentatively put on my TBR for April, I think, as a book with a flower in the title for one of the challenges I was doing, but I didn't get around to actually reading it. And I think it's more of a fallish book actually than a spring or summer kind of book because it's about 9/11. And it is dual timeline, so it would fit that prompt as well. And I am looking forward to reading that one at some point. I don't know if June will be the month for me to read it, but it's going on my list of possibilities. Tiffany at Beautiful Minutia has also announced her summer book bingo, returning for the 5th year, I believe it is. And so that one I'm definitely excited about participating in. I'm going to print out the graphic and I'm going to put it in my reading journal, and I'm going to be reading books that fit those prompts all summer long. But for the month of June, I am just going to retroactively fit any books in there as I read them if they fit any of the prompts. I'm not going to purposely try to match the prompts on her bingo to the books that I'm reading like in advance. I'm just, if it works for any of the prompts, I will cross out that one. And if not, then I won't, and we'll see how many I can get crossed off of that bingo board in June. But then I still have July and August to work at it more specifically. So I will do that in July and August. But for June, I'm just, if it fits, I'll put it in there. So there are 2 other books that I want to mention. First of all, I said that the challenge for the month of June is to do a buddy read. And so I am doing a buddy read with Cheryl at Candlewick Library. We have actually been intending to read this together for a while. I keep putting it off because I've just had too much on my plate. I've been in reading slumps and I've just had too many commitments. We finally pushed it to June, and June is the month we're going to actually read this book, and that is Evangeline by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I have been wanting to read more poetry by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow since I watched the movie, the Christmas movie about the Christmas Carol that he wrote the lyrics to. I heard the bells on Christmas Day. And the story of his second marriage and how it ended so tragically was just so affecting to me that, and also inspiring to me, that I really wanted to read more about Henry Wadsworth Longfellow and also wanted to read more of his poetry. But I haven't actually picked up anything since that time. And in particular, I've been wanting to read Evangeline since my sister read it a year or 2 ago, and she really enjoyed it. So I want to read this one, and I feel like it's a good place to start with Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. So Cheryl and I are going to be reading that. And it's not a very long book. So, and also it's written kind of like the Folger Shakespeare Library books with the text on one side and then definitions and explanations on the other side. So actually the actual poem is half the length of the book you see here. So it's not very long and involved, which is good. And then finally, in the month of June, I have been doing a Bible reading program throughout the school year. I basically did the Daily Grace Co's New Testament reading. I listened to their podcast and I did the readings every morning, but I did it during the school year. Like I had to put like 2 a day sometimes, but I fit it into the school year instead of doing it like the calendar year, the way they are actually doing it on the podcast. So I'm finishing that up at the beginning of June. And so what I want to do over the summer is this book, Spurgeon and the Psalms, which Chrissy at Chrissy's Purple Library gifted to me last year. And I am so excited about this. I saw this at the Bible Museum in Washington, D.C. They were advertising this book there, but they didn't actually have any copies available. And so I put it on my Amazon wish list and she sent it to me. And I love this. It's like a faux leather bound book. Look at these end papers. And the pages are very much like a Bible, but what it is Charles Spurgeon has a commentary for every psalm. And so you read the psalm and you read his commentary, and it's a devotion on the psalms. And I would like to read the entire thing during the course of the summer. So I will probably, again, have to like read 2 some days, probably the longer ones. I will just stick to 1 day, but the shorter ones, I'll read 2 a day so that I can get through the whole book in the course of the summer. I think that's what I've got going in June. Oh, one other thing. Yes. So I have Kindle Unlimited. I got the deal 99 cents a month for 3 months. June will be my 2nd month. And I'm going to read at least 1 more Emma M. Lyon book. Volume 6, if I haven't got to it yet, which I probably won't, even though there are like 8 more days in May. I'm finishing several other books and I have 2 more slated to read. So yeah, I don't think I'm going to get to the other Emma M. Lyon book before May ends. So definitely volume 6 of Emma M. Lyon and possibly volume 7 as well. Those will definitely be joyful reading for me. So those are happening in the month of June. And also anything else I find on Kindle Unlimited. I primarily got it for the purpose of reading the Emma M. Lyon books, but if I come across some other gems that I really want to read, I will read those too, because it's Joy Read June and I am looking forward to it. So let me know what you have on your list for June. Let me know if you want to buddy read anything with me, and let me know also in the comments, for anybody who is watching, your recommendations for your favorite really long classic books that are 500 pages or more. And I will see you next time, and I hope all of you have a fabulous month of reading in June and that you enjoy your summer. An addendum to the June TBR. When I put my June TBR together, I was a little bit in a rush, and I knew there was another event that I wanted to participate in, but I couldn't remember what it was, and I did not take the time to figure it out because I was in a rush. But I finally remembered what it was. It dawned on me. So that is the Journey with the Inklings readathon hosted by Kaylee at Luminous Libro, which is a really fun event. And she has a whole series of videos with recommendations for the various prompts. And she has a little bookmark that you can print out and use to follow along for the whole month. There are quite a few prompts for this readathon, but in combination with my Joy Reading June, I will only be doing a couple of them. There are a couple of prompts that retrofit into my plans already. And then there is another prompt or two that I have some options on my shelf that I have been wanting to read. So those I'm going to put into my pile of possibilities for June as well. First of all, one of the prompts is to read the Bible, and it feels a little bit like cheating, but check. That's done. I'm going to be reading the Psalms, as I already said, the devotional by Charles Spurgeon, so that will qualify for that. And then another prompt is to read a book that influenced the Inklings. And I don't know about this specific book, but I definitely know that Jane Austen was an influential author in C.S. Lewis's life, according to him. And I don't know about Mansfield Park in particular, but I do feel like he would have really enjoyed the themes that Austen was working with in that book, themes of vice versus virtue, and exploring how that plays out in various life situations. And so Mansfield Park is definitely going to be my book for that prompt. And then there are a couple prompts that I have books that could possibly go for, and that is books, I think books about the Inklings, and then books that are influenced by the Inklings. And both of them, like C.S. Lewis is the primary one that I'm focusing on here because that's what I have. First of all, books influenced by him, that is Once Upon a Wardrobe by Patty Callahan, which is drawing on the stories of Narnia, and it's not like a retelling or anything, is my understanding, but it definitely draws heavily on, as you can tell in the picture, the books, the Narnia series. And I think that C.S. Lewis is a character in this story, and is fictional as far as I understand, but is definitely inspired by C.S. Lewis and the Narnia series. And then the other one is about C.S. Lewis, really is about his wife, and that's Becoming Mrs. Lewis by the same author, Patty Callahan. And I've heard mixed things about this, but I am interested in reading it for myself. And both of these have been on my TBR for a decent amount of time, so I'm happy to add them to my pile of possibilities for June. Definitely, I don't imagine I will be getting to both of them, but one or the other of them I would really like to fit into my June reading as time and desire allow. And that is my addendum to my June TBR, and I think that's it. I think we got it. So let me know what you plan to read in June and which of these readathons you'll be participating in and what you are hoping to get to this month. And I will see you next time. Bye.